Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to really getting under the skin of global trends.
Glad to be here.
Today, we're plunging into a sector that's, well, it's both universal and surprisingly dynamic. We're talking about the global juvenile product market. Okay, let's unpack this. This is everything from, the car seat you strapped your little one into,
Right.
the fancy baby monitor, the strollers navigating city streets and parks, all of it. It's a market just so tightly woven into, well, raising kids, isn't it?
Yeah,
One of life's big experiences. And it's expanding like crazy.
it really is.
Our main guide for this deep dive, it's the Global Juvenile Product Market Report 2025-2033, comes from Cognitive Market Research.
A really comprehensive piece of work.
Exactly.
Sure.
So our mission for you, listening in, is to get you past the headlines, give you some genuinely well-informed insights, pinpoint key trends, maybe some surprising growth areas,
Yeah.
and figure out what it all means for the bigger picture,
Yeah.
the global economy, how we're all spending money.
And what's fascinating here, what's really foundational, is that this rapid expansion, it isn't just happening randomly. It's being pushed along by three critical forces, all connected.
Okay, what are they?
Well, first, you've got these really significant global demographic shifts happening. Not just birth rates, but things like when people start families, the value they put on early childhood.
Interesting.
Second, there's this clear trend, pretty much worldwide, of rising disposable incomes in lots of regions.
Which means more money to spend.
Directly, families can, and they are willing to, invest more in their kids' comfort, safety, development.
Makes sense?
And finally, there's just this growing global awareness, a real demand for better safety features, more comfort, real innovation in products for babies and kids.
So it's safety, comfort, innovation.
Yeah, and these aren't just separate points. They all kind of mesh together, creating this powerful engine for growth. We'll definitely see that in the numbers we're about to look at.
That's a crucial point, how those drivers work together. Okay, let's talk scale then. The sheer size of this market. Can you walk us through the global value, the kind of growth we're actually seeing?
Absolutely. And the figures, they're genuinely striking. So back in 2021, the global juvenile product market, it was already worth a pretty hefty $6,850.42 million.
6.8 billion roughly. Okay.
Exactly. But here's where the momentum really shows. By 2025, it's projected to climb up to $9,120.3 million.
Over 9 billion, wow.
And wait, there's more. If we look further out to 2033, the market's expected to nearly double that 2025 value.
Double.
Nearly double, reaching an impressive $16,165.7 million, 16 billion plus.
That's huge.
And this isn't some, one-off jump. It represents a really healthy compound annual growth rate, is CAGR, of 7.417% over the whole forecast period.
Okay, a CAGR of over 7.4%. Now, for some listeners, that term CAGR might be familiar, but could you just quickly break down what compound annual growth rate really means here? What does it signify?
Of course. Yeah, good point. Think of KGR as the average annual growth rate of something, an investment, a market over more than 1 year. But crucially, it assumes the profits or the growth gets reinvested.
So it includes the growth on the growth.
Exactly. It's the consistent year-over-year growth, including that compounding effect. So a 7.417% KGR isn't just an average number. It's a really strong sign of sustained accelerating momentum.
Right.
It tells us this market is growing consistently, dynamically, and building on its gains each year.
That really puts the trajectory into perspective. When you hear a market's basically set to almost double in, 8 years, it does make you pause. What does that scale immediately tell us about those underlying forces you mentioned earlier, the demographics, income, safety?
Well, it signals a really profound shift. It's way beyond just the number of babies being born, although that's part of it.
Okay.
The key thing here, I think, is the big jump in spending per child and just generally higher expectations from consumers globally.
Parents expect more and spend more.
Exactly. They're increasingly seeing these products not just as, basic necessities, but as investments. Investments in their kids' safety, their development, maybe even their own convenience.
Right, the high-tech monitors and things.
Precisely. So there's a willingness to pay more for those advanced features, better materials, innovative solutions. It's driving what we call premiumization across the board.
Premiumization, got it.
The fundamental shift is really in global consumer priorities. Spending on kids is becoming a bigger, more considered slice of the household budget.
That sets the stage perfectly for our regional deep dive. So if the global picture is this strong expansion, What happens when we break it down? Region by region, country by country, where are the real growth engines firing up? And where are the established markets holding steady or maybe even speeding up?
That's such a crucial question. Because where you are geographically, it often dictates not just the speed of growth, but the whole nature of how the market evolves.
Different drivers in different places.
Exactly. As we'll see, different regions have their own unique mix of socioeconomic factors, cultural norms, all shaping their specific growth patterns.
Okay, let's start close to home for some listeners. North America, often seen as a consistent player, a powerhouse in many sectors. What are the key figures to the story there?
North America is, it's a really interesting case. It's what you'd call a mature market, but it's still delivering strong, reliable growth.
Okay.
Valued at nearly $2.4 billion back in 2021. It's projected to more than double, hitting over $5.3 billion by 2033. That keeps it at a pretty robust TAGR of almost 7%. So 6.92%.
Still very healthy growth for a mature market.
Very healthy. The United States, no surprise, is the biggest chunk of that, about $1.9 billion in 2021, heading towards $4.3 billion by 2033.
Right.
But what's quite insightful is Canada. Its growth rate, the CAGR, is actually slightly higher than the U.S., over 7.6%.
Oh, but interesting.
Yeah, 7.625%, growing from about $268 million to nearly $648 million. And Mexico also shows solid expansion, a 7.1% CAGR.
So, okay, beyond just the size, what's the key insight here? North America keeps growing strongly, even though it's mature. It can't just be more people buying the same old stuff, right?
Exactly right. It's not just generic innovation either. The key insight, I think, is this relentless focus on premiumization and especially smart technology.
Oh, okay. Like what?
Well, we're seeing a real surge in demand for things like AI-powered baby monitors, the ones that track sleep patterns, even vital signs,
Yeah.
app-integrated feeding systems, stuff like that, and even a big push towards sustainably sourced materials for strollers, furniture.
So parents are willing to pay more for tech and ethics.
A significant premium, yes. It suggests that in these developed markets, it's shifting from just buying a basic necessity to making a kind of wellness investment in their children. Tech and ethical factors are becoming really important.
Fascinating. Okay, so if North America is the consistent engine, Europe sounds like it presents a more diverse picture, different economic landscapes, you said.
Yeah.
How do things like culture and varied economies play into the growth patterns across Europe?
Europe is a really compelling study in that kind of regional divergence. The overall market is healthy, no doubt. Forecasted to reach over $4.6 billion by 2033, with a CAGR over 7% overall.
Yeah.
But what's really interesting is when you drill down, Germany, for instance, it leads the whole region with the strongest CAGR, 7.823%.
Wow, Germany's powering ahead.
Yeah, set to nearly hit $1 billion, well, $975 million by 2033. The UK and Spain also show strong performance, both with KGRs around 7.4%.
So pretty consistent there.
But then you look at, say, Russia, it's lagging a bit behind the others with a lower CAGR of 5.679%.
Quite a difference. What factors could be driving Germany's really strong performance compared to Russia's more modest growth?
This really highlights how those local factors matter. Socioeconomic conditions, cultural priorities.
Right.
Germany's got a robust economy, sure, but also a strong cultural focus on early childhood development, very high safety standards. That drives demand for premium products, often the techie ones. Families can afford them and they prioritize them.
And Russia.
Conversely, Russia's slightly lower CAGR might reflect different economic pressures, maybe a consumer base that's more price-sensitive overall, or even, unique demographic trends impacting birth rates or spending power.
So you really need to understand each country.
Absolutely. It shows how crucial a nuanced country-by-country understanding is, especially in a diverse continent like Europe.
Okay, now, if you're looking for the future of this market, this next region seems to be where things get really compelling.
Yeah.
Let's shift focus to Asia Pacific. You called it the undisputed growth engine. What's happening there?
Yeah, Asia Pacific is, it's where we see the most dynamic, almost explosive growth. It boasts the highest regional TGR globally, an impressive 8.626%.
8.6%.
Right. The market's climbing from just under $1.3 billion in 2021 to a predicted, pretty stunning $3.49 billion by 2033. The scale of that jump is just breathtaking.
That's incredible, an almost threefold increase. And within Asia Pacific, are there specific countries really driving this phenomenal growth?
Absolutely. India is showing really remarkable potential. It actually has the highest KGR in the entire region.
Higher than 8.6.
Yeah, a phenomenal 9.653%.
Wow.
It's surging from about $151 million in 2021 to almost $457 million projected for 2033.
Incredible growth rate.
Now, while India leads in the rate of growth, China still dominates in sheer volume.
Right, because of its size.
Exactly. Expanding from $415 million to over $1.14 billion by 2033. That's still a very robust 8.814% CAGR.
Still huge growth.
And you've got other strong performers, too. Singapore, Southeast Asia as a whole, they're also seeing CAGRs well above 8.9%.
So the surprising dynamic in Asia Pacific, it's not just rising incomes, is it? What else is going on, especially with India's stellar growth rate?
What's truly fascinating there, I think, is how rapidly these aspirational middle-class families in these really populous nations are leapfrogging traditional product cycles.
Bullfrogging, what do you mean?
Well, instead of maybe starting with basic products and gradually upgrading, they're often going straight for items that meet global standards. Safety certified, well-designed, sometimes even smart products.
Skipping the middle steps.
Kind of bypassing maybe cheaper local alternatives that don't meet these higher expectations they now have.
So that creates opportunities.
Huge opportunities. It's
Yeah.
fertile ground for established international brands, definitely. But also for local companies who can quickly adapt and meet those global standards. Quality, design, safety.
Right.
It's a market really driven by a youthful population. They're eager for modern, safe, comfortable options for their kids. And it's all powered by that increasing economic prosperity and urbanization, too.
Makes sense. Okay, moving on to South America, another region showing, you said, significant emerging potential. What can you tell us about that market?
South America's market, yeah, it reflects a clear upward trend. It's projected to grow from just under $473 million in 2021 to over $1.15 billion by 2033.
More than doubling, too.
Exactly, with a very healthy CGR of 7.688%.
And who's leading there?
Brazil is the regional leader in terms of size, but what catches the eye is actually Argentina. It shows an even higher CAGR, 8.259%.
It's higher than Brazil's. Interesting.
Yeah. Colombia, Peru, Chile, they're also adding significantly to the regional expansion.
So what specific factors, economic, social, are influencing this growth in South America? Is it similar to other emerging markets, or are there unique local drivers?
Well, the expansion in South America, it does mirror patterns we see in other emerging markets, yes, but it has its own kind of regional flavor.
Okay.
As economies stabilize, hopefully, and more families move into those middle-income brackets,
Right.
there's just a natural increasing demand for better quality juvenile products.
Right, moving up the ladder.
Yeah. Factors like a youthful population combined with shifting consumer aspirations wanting global brands, higher safety standards, that all contributes to this steady growth. It's really about that rising tide of economic improvement leading to more investment in kids' well-being.
Got it. Let's turn our attention now to the Middle East. A region you mentioned is seeing dynamic shifts in consumer spending. What's the outlook there?
The Middle East is another really compelling growth story. Its market is expected to more than double as well, from about $349 million in 2021 to over $843 million by 2033.
And the growth rate.
A strong CGR of 7.604%.
Pretty consistent with South America then.
Very similar rate, yes. But here, the United Arab Emirates, the UAE, really shines. It's leading the region with an impressive CGR of 8.266%.
The UAE is leading again.
Yeah. Turkey also shows really robust growth, an 8% CAGR, so there's significant market activity right across the region.
The UAE's leadership is interesting. What drives this kind of growth in the Middle East? You mentioned the cultural emphasis on family earlier. Does that play a big role?
I think it absolutely does. The drivers are compelling and often directly linked to, well, growing wealth, yes, but also that high cultural value placed on family and children in many of these economies.
Right.
As these nations keep diversifying their economies, seeing sustained prosperity, families are increasingly investing in premium, sometimes even luxury products for their little ones.
So it's the premium end again.
Very much so. That emphasis on safety, quality, and often, high-end design.
Yeah.
It really resonates strongly in this region. That fuels the expansion as disposable incomes rise and families prioritize the very best.
Makes sense. Okay, finally, we arrive at Africa, representing, as you put it, truly untapped frontiers and significant future growth. What does the report show us about the potential there?
Africa is definitely one to watch for the long term for strategic planning. Now, it's starting from a smaller base compared to other regions,
Yeah.
but its market is projected to expand significantly from $274 million in 2021 to over $656 million by 2033.
Still more than doubling.
Still more than doubling, yes, growing at a healthy 7.046% CAGR overall for the continent.
And within Africa, any leaders?
South Africa leads the continent with the highest CAGR, 7.732%, and Nigeria is close behind, also showing strong growth at 7.288%.
Okay, so given Africa's unique demographic profile, that really young population, increasing urbanization, how is that likely to influence the juvenile product market's path forward?
That's such an important question for the future. Africa represents a really compelling growth market precisely because of those factors.
The demographics are key.
Absolutely. As infrastructure develops, as disposable incomes rise, maybe steadily, but surely the demand for juvenile products is just inevitably going to surge.
A huge potential customer base.
Vast new consumer bases, yeah. For manufacturers, for retailers who are willing to really understand and cater to local needs and affordability levels, perhaps.
A long-term potential.
It's a market really poised for significant long-term growth, as those foundational economic and social improvements start to unlock the spending potential of an incredibly young population.
Wow. Okay, we have covered a remarkable amount of ground today, region
Yeah.
by region, so let's pull it all together. What does this all mean for you, the listener, the curious learner, keeping an eye on global trends, market opportunities?
Yeah, if we synthesize the so what from all these numbers, it unequivocally signals robust, really multifaceted opportunities for manufacturers, retailers, investors worldwide.
Big opportunities.
We're looking at a market that's going to cross an incredible $16 billion by 2033. That alone tells you something. It reflects those universal priorities parents everywhere place on their kids' well-being.
But it's not just one size fits all.
Exactly. It also encourages critical thinking. Success isn't going to look the same everywhere. Factors like cultural nuances in how kids are raised,
Yeah.
specific local economic conditions, how distribution channels are evolving, especially e-commerce, which is huge.
Right.
All those things will heavily influence how you best approach these opportunities in such different regions. The data gives you the map, but understanding those local details, that's the compass you need to unlock the potential.
Indeed. We've certainly pulled back the curtain today on the global juvenile product market, and it reveals a sector just brimming with potential. A dynamic landscape showing significant, sustained growth pretty much everywhere, from the established players to the really rapidly emerging economies. It's just a powerful testament, isn't it, to that universal priority parents put on their kids' well-being and development all across the globe.
And given this clear trajectory, this growth path, and that increasing global focus on safety, on comfort, it really prompts a final question, doesn't it?
Go on.
What are the next innovative products or services going to be? Maybe things focused on advanced sustainability, or seamless smart tech integration, or even products designed for really specific, bespoke cultural needs. What's going to define the next phase of this $16 billion market?
And what new subsectors might pop up.
Exactly. What entirely new subsectors might emerge that maybe right now we can barely even imagine?
A fantastic thought to ponder. Perhaps as you go about your day, maybe you'll see those strollers or car seats with slightly new eyes now. We really hope this deep dive has given you a clearer, more nuanced picture of this incredibly dynamic global landscape.
Hope so too.
Keep learning, keep exploring, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.